Hello Internet people, you're tuned into episode 84 of Nintendo Noise, Flip Screen Games' weekly Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Max Wright, joined today by my very good friends and co-hosts. That was a
co-host.
Foreshadowing there. My very good friends and co-host, Mr. Stephen Radford.
Hello.
And for the very first time on Nintendo Noise, Miss Glupshitto. Sorry, Chloe Fathers. Hi Chloe, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I think this is the exact setup we had the last time we did a Loot Pots episode together. It was the three of us. I can't remember what we spoke about. I remember crying with laughter at something Steve said. But yeah, that was a good combination.
The boat trip.
It was the boat trip.
Oh, the bumper boats! I remember the episode of After Dark. Yeah, everyone should go find that episode about the bumper boats. That was a good episode.
Man. Yeah, it's really funny because I was picturing this massive boat that you fell off of, and it was just this time.
I did. I chartered a yacht. Like in Below Deck, because I'm a multi-millionaire. So I chartered a yacht and then I fell off of it. Yeah.
Some say he's still falling to this day. How is everyone? Is everyone okay?
I'm great. I'm buzzing. We've got a new Zelda game coming out.
We do have a new Zelda game.
What more could I want?
And of course, we've got a lot to talk about that because today, at the time of recording, Nintendo have shown the first proper Tears of the Kingdom gameplay, which featured a lot of brand new details and also some sort of new gameplay features. And we get like our first proper look at the game that isn't a cut together trailer or a lot of sort of story gubbins or whatever. So they opened up by announcing that the game has gone gold. The game is now complete. Development is completed. They're now just waiting for the game to release on the 12th of May, which is we can nearly say it's next month in just sort of a couple more days. So that's exciting. We saw a lot of new stuff. So I'm just going to sort of dive in here and we'll sort of go point to point and we'll see, if we have any thoughts or if there's anything we do or don't like about it or whatever. So the first thing they showed was the general sort of map. The icons look exactly the same. I don't know if you saw the UI looked almost identical. I was looking at it like this could be Breath of the Wild footage. The sound icon was the same, the temperature icon was the same.
But like Link's got a hot new haircut and a tat.
Does have a hot new haircut.
It's like it definitely is not. It's not Breath of the Wild.
Interesting that we never saw Link from before, which I still think is going to be Zelda in the final game. But hey ho.
No, that Link's dead, and this person that will play
we'll
isn't
see.
Link. That's by the way, Chloe, is the predictions that we've got going on at the beginning of the year. Max thinks
I don't understand the Zelda one. Wait, I didn't get it.
Max thinks Zelda's playable in the game, basically.
I think that when we see in the trailers,
has there been a clip before that we think could be Zelda?
So in the trailers, there's like two links. There's like the Link we saw in the thing with like the green arm and the long hair, and then there's a Link we see where he looks like the Link we know. But he's sort of running around, right? We see those two links. I have a feeling that second Link, the one that we see in sort of the blue outfit, is actually Zelda, and they just sort of like swap the models to hide it. And Steve thinks that the Link's going to die, so we're going to see by the end of the year. Maybe we're both right. We never know.
Yeah, that's what I think.
These are some quite sad predictions you've got to go for this one.
Because I think it's Tears of the Kingdom. I think they're sad for Link dying finally.
I mean, there was no breathing, and there was the wild wasn't breathing at all. It was just, and there was the picture of the flower. I don't know. But we did see something new on the map. That was the islands. We saw the floating islands, which we've seen in some of the trailers. And we saw they said in the trailer, Anuma said there are many ways to visit them. So the first one they showed off was that you could use the recall ability to reverse the flow of an object's time in a timeline or whatever, which I think is going to be used in the same way that the freeze time one was, where you can sort of use it in different ways to solve puzzles or maybe even like send an enemy backwards or something. I don't know.
Seems a lot more useful though. Like I always struggled with smashing the shit out of items in Breath of the Wild.
I love that.
And like
holding onto it, flinging yourself along.
I was awful at it. I never got my angles right.
Yeah, I don't know how you see the people in the speedruns where they'll just do as much damage as possible and then they'll just fire an arrow at the exact point they need to fling it off in the right way. But I was never that good at it to speedrun with it. But I did enjoy using it to bash enemies around and stuff like that, or sort of move something along.
It was more for the puzzles in the shrines, right?
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
and I feel like we'll talk a little bit more about the trailer in general further down. But I feel like we didn't necessarily get a good look at how puzzles and how shrines and dungeons fit in.
No, it was very much the outside, wasn't it? It was very much the outside, just the map. They very clearly wanted to show off, maybe just enough to say these are some of the new features, but we don't actually know really that much more about it. Other than the fact that there are now islands to visit and that there are Zonai to fight and there are things like that, and there's things you can do. We don't know the structure of the game at all, which, I mean, I guess they're sort of waiting for the game to release, maybe trying to keep it a surprise. But
how much did they give away? Does anyone remember how much kind of structure of the game did they do of the original?
We had like an hour,
I wasn't really following it, but
at E3,
we definitely knew.
Did they know about the divine beast structure and that it was all kind?
Yeah, we knew about the Divine Beast. We knew about the shrines because they sort of showed us the opening hour of the game, and I think you could even play the opening hour of the game.
Wow!
So I think I played it in the January, and we at that point knew enough that there were shrines that you could visit and that you could see the Divine Beast, and people were sort of like we were talking about them. But this time, no one's played it. There's no nothing to go off other than Breath of the Wild, which is maybe why a lot of people are still saying that this game looks like Breath of the Wild. But I'll tell you what, and one thing that is back from Breath of the Wild that people maybe aren't really too happy about is the weapon durability. But there's a bit of a twist this time because your broken weapons can now be fused. This was probably the most exciting new feature, I think, for me, the fuse ability. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
No, I think it's really cool. I'm wondering if if it's kind of like locked away so that only specific combinations work, or kind of any combination of items.
It sounded like it was any kind of combination. Like I don't know, maybe you're right because he brings the kind of wheel up on the screen.
Yeah.
And then maybe
but even if it's still like most items.
Yeah.
Because that kind of makes sense why it's been in development for so long as well. Then if it's like, I mean, every item combination needs like the unique look, and then it needs to change the way it interacts with the world around it. So I'm hoping it's as kind of any combination of it. Like I hope that they don't just lock it to like 10 things on a bow or something. So I hope it's quite like open to that.
I think it's going to be. Sorry, go on.
It always seemed like we should have had something like this in Breath of the Wild when it comes to like
repairing.
Well, not necessarily repairing, but like crafting arrows. It was 100% there. Like you had all the choo-choos around the place. Like you could have just. We had the kind of the blue ones. We had the
white ones.
The white ones the yellow ones that shocked. The red ones that were fiery. They could have easily done something where you kind of merged those with sticks to craft different arrows.
Yeah,
and we saw that in the trailer. Was there any crafting? There was no crafting. It was no crafting. It was
now you're saying it definitely like suits the game, just sort of that. All alone really, in the wilderness trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah, they had the cooking, and you could mix things together with the cooking, and that was sort of a fun thing of experimenting with the cooking. And this seems like the next step of that, of taking this idea of mixing things together and having different effects into the main game.
But I think it actually has an effect on the game because the enemies seem to not just be the standard enemies that are around the place. They've crafted things themselves, or you need to hold them at a distance because if they come close to you, it's going to hurt. So we see that section where he kind of puts the pitchfork together and puts it on a really long stick so he can jab away at the enemy so it doesn't come close to him. And then there's that one where he's like holding a plank of wood or something, and he needs to construct something to kind of get around that so he can attack the enemy. And I like that it adds a level of strategy to it that you don't necessarily you wouldn't necessarily think about, and like the tracking of the birds as well, and crafting things together, like crafting an eyeball and an arrow together, so it can kind of seek out the enemy that you're aiming at, which I thought was really. And
cool. You know they're going to have put an effect on every single drop, right? You know that wheel was pretty it looked pretty inclusive of everything that you could drop in the game. So I reckon there's going to be a lot of weird and unique effects, and I think that the way that you're going to combine these weapons is going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be one of those things that we see a lot on Twitter or just on the internet in general, like all this crowdsourced discovery, people going, "Oh, did you know if you mixed a boulder with a long stick, you get like a giant mace or whatever?" There's all these different combinations. People are maybe ones that you wouldn't think to try, ones that you do think to try. But maybe you can then combine the item you've already combined with something else, and you can create sort of weird amalgams.
Well, I feel like we saw that with the kind of vehicles that he was constructing and fusing together all of these items to make like a sailing boat or make a car that we saw in the previous trailer, and the fact that they aren't actually vehicles in the game, they're ways you can kind of traverse the place.
Yes, that's actually a different ability though. That's the ultra hand ability. So I'm not sure if they work in the same way in that you can just sort of like put, I don't know, boulders on your car or whatever, or if these are two completely different things, and if you pick up a boulder and a stick with the ultra hand ability and you put them together, you instead just get a heavy stick instead of a weapon that you can use.
Well, I was wondering too, because it would be nice if we could just sort of fuse together anything and just see how all like it was the fan on the other one and see how everything interacts with each other. But I'm hoping they don't lock it into kind of like a Minecraft way of you have this items and they work together in exactly this way to make an end product. I hope there's more. They kind of just, because I think that was the fun with the physics in the first one, is that they all just interacted really fun and there was no one way to do something. So I'm hoping that all the crafting is quite you can just stick a fan on the end of anything and see what happens rather than just lock you down into specific like recipes.
Yeah, I wonder if you can put them on enemies and things as well and kind of blow them away.
Because you could do something with balloons in the last game, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
Or like the octopus balloon.
Yeah,
things.
you could. Yeah, you could sort of attach them to enemies, I think, and then the enemy would fly off, or the weapon would fly off, or something like that. You just sort of popped it down, and it would. And I hope that's the kind of thing that returns. Maybe you can even combine it with an arrow, so that you shoot an arrow at something, and then they then take off onto a balloon. You never know. But I think the ultra hand one, I'm wondering if it does more than just vehicles. Because we've seen sort of fans, we've seen wheels.
Right? I feel like this was the kind of section where I felt where he's constructing the raft, where I felt like this feels like a puzzle. It feels like a shrine, but out in the open, and I'm kind of constructing this together. And it made me wonder, because we've still not seen any shrines in any footage. I don't think they're in the game anymore. I think we've got these floating islands in the sky, and it's a puzzle to figure out how to get to them. And I think that's part of the challenge. And the puzzles are more environmental rather than you go to the shrine, you solve the puzzle, you get a reward at the end. I feel like it's more look around you, check out the environment, traverse with these vehicles that you create with the ultra hand ability, craft these weapons with the fuse ability, and figure out what is out there and what is there for you to find and be rewarded with, rather than these big constructs that we've put around the place. Because we've not even seen any towers, right? Like that's how we unlocked the map in Breath of the Wild, and there's no towers. It very much seems like we've got the Hyrule that we know from Breath of the Wild that has changes, and Aonuma said, he's not going to go into detail on the changes because there's too many. But then we've got all these islands in the sky, and it really seems like with the new abilities that potentially we don't even need shrines with the way they've constructed the game.
Yeah, and when
how
you said
the other games worked. Oh, sorry, do you want to go?
No, go on.
No, I was just going to ask how have the other games worked in terms of I suppose the stamina upgrade was unique to Breath of the Wild, but with I quite like the shrines as a way to collect the heart pieces, get all the upgrades. How have the other games done it, or is it just like finding them at the end of puzzles?
It's traditionally been larger dungeons, and there'll be pieces within each of the dungeon. It
will just on the overworld,
you can kind of get. There's some in the overworld, but for the most part, it's like you go to a dungeon, you get a compass, it'll show you what's in the dungeon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, but like in terms of like heart pieces and that, it's generally like 50 throughout the game, and a lot of them are hidden behind puzzles. There wasn't any like you get these amount of drops and you can choose to upgrade your health because there was no stamina at the time of your magic. You would find an item that's specifically one of 4. You find those 4, you get a full heart, and they'll be sort of dotted around. And it could be that comes back. It could be that because there are no shrines and there isn't a sort of 100 shrines to split the 2 power-ups between each other. Ouch, keep hitting this mirror next to me. It could be that instead they actually have, like you say, Steve, like you come across something, you're like, oh, what's that over there? And if it's not going to be a shrine,
similar to what it was with Korok seeds, right? That was how we had it in Breath of the Wild, but maybe they expand that to make them even greater puzzles. Because it might have just been something they constructed for the trailer, but it seemed like when he was putting that raft together, it was like, here's all the components. There's a big lake next to you, and there's something on the other side of it. Figure out
do with that?
what to do with this. It's like, going into a crystal maze puzzle and like seeing everything on the ground and figuring out what you got to do. And
just without a load of West Country people going, no, on the side, shouting at you, telling you what to do.
So I kind of hope it's that, because I really like environmental puzzles.
Oh, me too.
I
Done
liked
so well in the first one.
Yeah,
like, they were
but I
great.
liked the shrines, but I felt like the settings became a little bit bland, and to have those puzzles out in the open, and please, dear God, do not put any motion puzzles in the game. I hated those.
Oh yeah.
To have it
God,
out and about in the open, and have it where I stumble across it and I'm exploring, and I'm looking at the kind of terrain for clues, instead of there's a big shiny orange thing over there, let me go see what that is, I feel is a little bit more rewarding.
Yes, I agree. Before we move on to the ascend ability, can I quickly jump back? You remember in the previous trailers, or sorry, specifically the last trailer they showed, there are a few weapons shown off. There was like the big ball that you flung down and it shot out a ball at someone, right? Do you remember that? Do you think that's a fused weapon, or do you think that's just something you get in the game?
One.
I think we're going to have maybe something that just shoots out things, and Link just attaches a stick to it, and now you have a. In fact, it might be worth rewatching that trailer when we're not in the middle of recording an episode, and just seeing if we can tell the sort of the specific split, because you can very easily see, like, when you combine the stick and the boulder, it very much looks like a stick attached to a boulder. And when you do the shield, because you can attach things to your shield too, and they seem to have different effects when you're blocking.
There was one in the trailer where it was a vase that was attached to a shield, and then when it got hit, it like let out a load of smoke and became like
was a mushroom.
Smoke bomb. Was it a mushroom? Was it?
That was a mushroom.
Okay, well, whatever.
I also saw at one. I also saw at one point he attached a boulder to the front of the shield, which maybe would increase the durability of the shield, or would maybe deflect attacks fully, or something like that. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of variation, not just for your weapons, but also your shield. And maybe there's also armors that factor into, maybe you can fuse certain armors, so you could put more rocks on you, so you're heavier or something like that. You never know.
I didn't even think about the armor, actually, because that even just the armor we got in the first one was just fun, and it was fun to complete the sets. But if there's any element of like fusing stuff to it to upgrade it, that would be really cool.
I wonder if he gets more tattoos as well. Can he pop in and get a little tribal one like Mario had?
Oh, just like in GTA. You go get your haircut, you go get your tattoo, you go to the gym.
He needs a man bun, let's be honest. To go with that tattoo, that's what Link needs, is the man bun to just top off the look.
Yeah, I agree. Getting some Doc Martens, really sort him out. Yeah. So I mentioned it earlier. Let's talk about the ascend ability, which is, we've seen it in the trailers before. Before it looked like it was maybe a set structured thing. You had to do, you got to a certain point and you could zip up, but it seems like this is just an ability you get now. Whereas if there is a roof above you, you can use the ascend ability, and you'll be teleported through whatever's above you to the
he
the roof.
Swims up this
he's like
pipe that
it reminds me of the waterfalls in the first one. It was going up.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that could be what inspired it. Is they're like, okay, we can use waterfalls to quickly get up things.
It's like, hey, we've got this animation pre-made. Let's use it now.
Yeah.
I think it looks really
cool. Yeah, I think this is a good way of, there's nothing worse than it's raining and you have to traverse. So you do the 1, 2, 3, then you slide down a bit. 1, 2, 3. You do that forever.
And then your stamina runs out and you plunge to your death.
Exactly.
Do you know? It reminds me of Rivali's Gal that you got when you defeated one of the divine beasts, and it was like straight up. But it's I wonder when you get these abilities. Like, that's another thing I'm kind of thinking is, do we get them at the beginning like we did in Breath of the Wild, and it's like, I
forgot how quickly we got them in the first one. Actually, it was all. Was it all on the Great Plateau?
Yeah.
Getting those abilities.
And then from each of the divine beasts, you got like the Rivali's Gale or Daruk's Protection or whatever. Which I do wonder as well if these new abilities are going to be like that. Instead of getting them all at the start, we instead sort of maybe get Fuse and then we get Ascend. Or sorry, not Ascend.
Metroidvania, wouldn't it? Like, can't get to new areas until you get the Ascend ability.
Yeah, and I think having that in an open world map would be quite fun, because you could sort of look around and be like, okay, come on, I'm going to mark all of these areas as, I know I need a car for this, and I don't have the ability to make a car yet, so I'm going to mark all of these on my map, which is very much how the first game worked, right? You got to a point where you're like, don't know what to do here, I'll mark this for later, and then you eventually work out how to do it, or anything like that. I wonder if, sorry, I've just realised, you mentioned Koroks earlier. I wonder if there's Koroks, or Koroks.
I reckon there'll be something, but they're gonna have to have a better like reward for the completion because
Nah, it's very funny that it was just a piece of poo. Very, very.
no, it was
funny.
funny, but I'm not sure people will be up for doing it again.
No, I
Because
think
when
I
did
got.
you get? How did you get the Korok mask in the first one? You know, the one that like shook when you were near one.
Oh, yeah, I
Was
think
that
that was
just?
just something you do.
You
Maybe
get
Was it
when
you
you
just
get
visit
that for
the.
getting a certain number of seeds, and the seeds, yeah, the reward at the
Oh,
end
okay.
was literally shit, but you got all those inventory spaces, so it did
Yeah,
give
Yeah,
which you're
you
gonna
that's
it
true.
did
need.
give you like a good reward to keep looking for them and finding them throughout, and because
Yeah.
inventory space was precious, especially if you're cooking all the time and you want to capture like
Yeah.
the fish that you can put together with like
Yeah.
a chili pepper or something to go into a cold
Yeah,
water.
yeah.
And it looks like that remains. Those kind of mechanics from the first game, from Breath of the Wild, still are here because we saw Link as he ascended through the ceiling of that cave. He came out into like an icy area and he was shivering still. So it looks
Mhm.
like you still maybe do have that thing with the armor, and like the warmer your armor is, the different areas you can go into, and maybe that does play into the fact that perhaps you can fuse something with it. Maybe you can fuse chili peppers with your armor instead of eating them, or fuse like
Mhm.
wool that you get from an animal to kind of put it together with you. Because like what did you get for killing animals? It was the meat. That was it. It would be more
Yeah.
interesting if you get materials and you can use that to craft things like weapons or armor. I know you got the eyeballs and like the Keith's wings and things, but
They were just for potions and stuff,
yeah.
weren't they? I think there was a potion maker
Whereas they actually seem to
somewhere.
have a lot more purpose now with Fuse. Like
Mhm.
you actually use them for something pretty meaningful.
Yeah, which I think is going to be it's going to be really fun just to try everything out, see what works, see what doesn't work, and I think that's going to be like a lot of time in the game for
I
me
think
is
it's like
doing
you're
that.
saying, it's exactly what's going to sort of the clips are going to go all over Twitter because
Mhm.
someone's done something, they've solved a puzzle in a way that you'd never think. Like that was so much of the fun with Breath of the Wild is just there was no one right way to do something, and even if it was like a really efficient way of solving something, if it was just a ridiculous use of all the mechanics, it was just
Yeah.
so much fun to see how everyone gets to it.
Yeah, like just strapping a bunch of Octorok balloons to a raft and taking off into the sky, like it's just silly, but it's good, it's great, and that's the thing that I think people don't, people that maybe aren't Nintendo fans, people that haven't actually played Breath of the Wild and look at it and don't really understand what made it so special, they just see it's just a big open world, like it's not doing anything new, blah 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 blah. But what it does do is have this amazing, physics playground. It was like a sandbox in so many ways. It was just this massive, okay, do whatever works. We're not going to penalise you for trying things or for
Even like setting things on
for
fire
breaking
to
things.
make
Yeah,
a gale that you could then use
yeah,
with your glider.
Glider.
And it looks like we've got those fans around the place that have finite amount of battery that you can either use to get up to places or use the
the
what's it called,
propelling
ultra
power,
hand. Yeah, I keep calling it
ultra
super
hand. Yeah,
hand, but that just is the guy from Peep Show.
from Peep Show. Ultra Hand I saw on Twitter is the Gunpei Yokoi, who I think he was one of the sort of original creators of the Metroid series. One of the first things he ever made at Nintendo was, one of those extendable hands where you pull it
Yeah.
and then it fans out and it grabs. That was called the Ultra Hand. Seems like it's been inspired by that. I wonder what the goo is that's connecting everything with the Ultra. Did you see there was like a horrible goo connecting everything? When he dropped it, there was like a sludge connecting the two that then froze into a block. What is that goo, I wonder? Is that going to be a tangible substance that we know about, or is it just like going to be a bit of just to show what's connecting and what's connecting where?
I think it's probably just to show that something's connected to something else. I'm not sure though.
Why make it a goo?
It's gross. Goo is gross. I don't know why they
Yeah.
went for goo.
I think the fans and stuff like that would be really interesting to see because it had, like you said, it had finite power. If you could electrify your weapon, or do you remember you used to be able to get the electric wands that would do an electric ability? If there was a way to connect that to the ship somehow, or the whatever you've made, and power it for longer, and sort of be able to, because you attach 4 fans to this the machine. And Aonuma said there are multiple ways to reach these islands, but it doesn't seem like the machines that you can create have enough energy to be able to reach all the way up to the islands. I feel like it's just going to sort of fall apart in midair again, like the Challenger.
But I think that's what the challenge potentially comes from. Like where we were talking about the puzzles out in the air. Maybe there's, as you're going up, maybe there's another fan off in the distance,
And you have to
need
attach
go
them on
to there,
yourself.
and you kind of take the one off that you've got that's run out of battery, put another one on, or like glide over to it to kind of try and find it. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff they haven't shown in here
Oh yeah.
Because it really felt like this was just a small demo to show off the abilities, because we hadn't seen anything about this game.
Yeah.
Um, I was happy with
Anything.
I was happy with the abilities that we saw, and I think
Yeah, I agree.
the kind of free falling mechanic as well was really
Fortnite
cool.
mode.
Yeah, but the fact that you can like hold R to accelerate, and I was like, just straight
Like
into
in
the
Fortnite.
water. Never mind about
Yeah.
never
That's
mind about
better.
your
Yeah, you don't.
bones. Just straight into the water.
Yeah. Oh, Link's got special bones, hasn't he? He's got magic bones.
Yeah.
He's got goo bones.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that. I'm glad that horses are still there. That the fact they've got the cars and stuff doesn't negate the use of horses, because it's very nice to have your horse and name them and put their hair up and dress them up and stuff. So I'm glad that horses seem to be also staying. It seems like they're not taking anything away from the game, maybe shrines, but they are just adding more and iterating on things, which I think is what people expected to happen anyway. And I think they're doing it in sort of the right ways. They're not just like going, oh, what other elements can we do? They're like, okay, how can we fundamentally sort of change the way you think about this game, approaching puzzles and stuff?
I quite like how familiar it feels, because I played Breath of the Wild again quite recently, and I was worried that this one just did look so similar, but it's exactly like you said. It's like so they're not really taking anything away. They're just adding new abilities, new things. Because I think maybe because I've played it so recently, but if they suddenly started taking away certain things I could do or I could like, it would be a bit jarring. But
it feels like they
seem
have
to be-
though. Like, you've not got the ice block, we've not got the magnet, we've not got.
We don't know that yet, do we?
No,
We've
I
just
think we
seen these
do
are just
know
these-
that. Like, if you look at the UI,
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think they're there anymore.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
the UI's
just
now
looking at
got
the UI.
it's now got the shield on the left, the sword on the right, so like armor on the left and the sword on the right, and then you've got the up arrow brings up like the things that you can fuse with, like construct together. And it seems like that's maybe contextual based on what ability you've got, but it looks like it's just the L button that gives you the ability, and it's dependent on what you're looking at or what you're doing. I don't know if you can swap that out with a different button, but it looks like it's just the left bumper.
I feel like I'd really miss those things. Like, I feel like the ice and the freeze and all that, the magnet
Stasis.
stuff.
I use stasis all the time. That's
Stasis,
going to be a sad one to lose.
Yeah, I feel like those are all sort of quite core to making it a sandbox, the way that it was, and like maybe you could add these. I don't know.
Different puzzles though. Like, if you had those things, if you could say put the ice blocks in the water.
Oh, you wouldn't need to go across the boat, would you? You
don't need to use Ultra Hand to construct the boat, because you can just hop over the kind of ice blocks. So I don't think that you can have them both in the same game for that reason, because they kind of are opposed to each other. And it doesn't make sense thematically either, because he doesn't have a Sheikah Slate anymore. There's none of that kind of side of things. He's got his big tattoo and his Ultra Hand.
I tell you who does have a Sheikah Slate? Zelda.
Does she?
A picture of her with a Sheikah
maybe
Slate.
That's the way they do it. If Zelda is a playable character, maybe Zelda has all of the original abilities, and she's got a different tool set. She's got the Sheikah Slate, and she can do stasis and the ice box and the kind of magnet and that kind of thing. And Link's got different abilities, and maybe you swap between the two different playable characters, because there is a rumor that there's two different Links in the game as well. Like, one's from the past, one's from the future, or from now. So maybe they utilize that, so it doesn't feel like we're losing everything and then having to readjust.
I think I've just noticed as well is that the UI doesn't seem to have the green stamina bars either. So I'm wondering if we're going to lose the climbing ability, because I think that is one thing that if they remove that,
we do see them climb.
Yeah, they climb right at the beginning of the trailer. He shows.
Oh wait, yeah, no, I've just seen it actually.
Yeah, he shows them Link going up the rock to get to an area where it fell, so he could then use the reverse ability. What's the reverse ability called?
Recall. But also, when it gets high enough, he then hops off and glides down, and there's a stamina bar for the gliding as well.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's definitely.
So we have to collect all those orbs to. Oh, do we collect orbs? Do we take them to shrines? Like, how does it work now?
It could be that you just find 4 pieces and you get a full one. Just like the old games did. Who knows? I tell you what, we do know is that Pixelpal was right. I don't know if you guys remember when Pixelpal was doing his Legend of Zelda breakdown videos, and he was sort of breaking down the language of the Zonai, and he was sort of like, remember that he was sort of picking out the
I remember that, yeah.
he was sort of just deciphering the lost history of the game or whatever, and we see Zonai constructs in throughout this whole thing. He's fighting constructs that when he defeats them, they drop Zonai horns and Zonai batteries and things like that, Zonai cores. So, I mean, I don't know how he pulled that out, because
so.
yeah. I don't know how he was able to call that, but that's very impressive. Also, we see the dragons again. That was cool. I liked seeing that flying around. I hope they have a sort of a different. I don't want it to be the same thing again, where you shoot them and they drop a claw, and then you do this.
I think
so
that's
there's like
the problem, right? Is it's such a fine balance they've got to strike of you don't want it to be too different, because everyone loved Breath of the Wild. It's a beloved game. We've even spoken about the fact that we're going to miss abilities like stasis, and you don't want it to be too similar, so that it feels like it's the same and it doesn't feel fresh. And it's a really, really hard act to follow. It's one of the best games of all time, and they've got to kind of try and follow up with that. And I think that's why they've kept themselves so close-lipped and all of their cards close to their chest. Because, man, this was not a lot to show. Like a 10-minute gameplay trailer, it was really just a 10-minute ability trailer, and we don't really see what the game's about. We don't know anything about the story. We don't know about dungeons, if they exist. We don't know about shrines. We don't really know anything that's going on. Who's the main antagonist in the game? Is Ganon back? Like, what do we actually know about this game?
I think it's to be assumed, I guess, but who am I to assume anything? Actually, because it could be completely wrong. So, yeah, I do think there's a lot to do, and I wonder if we're going to get a bigger marketing push at all, or if this is it until the game releases. Now it's almost so it's a month and 2 weeks away from today.
I feel like this is it.
So I
this
wonder.
Is it. It's like everyone's amping up.
I feel like it can't be it. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, this doesn't feel like if you showed me a lot of that trailer without the abilities, you can't really discern if it was Breath of the Wild or if it was the new one. Like I'm hoping we get some more, but I'm gonna get it either way. So they've got me.
Yeah, I've already got it pre-ordered, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I just don't know if. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what it is that I'm expecting to play, other than sort of the stuff that we've seen today. But that's kind of exciting in its own way, because if it is just more Breath of the Wild, cool, I really enjoyed that game. But if it is sort of like they've added some old Zelda bits in, or it is completely different in some ways, also cool, because it's good to get new things. So, yeah, I think we've almost answered the first of our questions here from the viewers. Olaf, aka Yarno, says, do you think Tears of the Kingdom has changed enough in terms of world exploration and new mechanics for it to have the same effect as Breath of the Wild when it comes to a new height in gaming?
I don't think we know yet. I really don't.
No,
from the trailer, I don't think we can tell. But I feel like it's clear that they've changed a lot from what we've spoken about. The fact, just the emissions, the fact that I feel like if the shrines were there, if the towers were there, if his original abilities were there, we would have seen them all. And I feel like they're all removed, and we've got new mechanics now. And so it does feel fresh. It does feel different. Even if we just had one of those new mechanics, like if we just had the fuse mechanic, I feel like it would have felt like a whole new game, and all of these different things that we can now do. I can't think of another game that integrates that level of customization and construction just freely out in the open, where I'm just like, oh, I'm holding a stick, let me merge it with this boulder. I really can, and I feel like that's what's going to feel fresh, is the level of creativity and just feeling like you're a hero, and the sense of exploration that I only got. The only other game I've had the same level of sense of exploration is Elden Ring. It's the only other game I've ever had it from.
He said it.
And I'm excited to go back to that.
When Elden Ring came out, I very much had the exact same feeling that when Breath of the Wild came out, which was a feeling I'd not had before, where it was like I was going into work, or I was talking to my mates and going, oh, did you see this? Oh, you should go there and see that, like check that out. Oh, have you been down to this bit here? Because it was such a vast world, and there was no real proper way to go. It's not like you were like, oh, have you got to this point yet? Oh yeah, I'm like 2 hours in. Okay, yeah, give it a couple of hours, you'll get there. It was like, oh, you're playing less than me, but you're seeing stuff I've never seen before.
Yeah, there's no set path,
exciting,
so it's
dynamic. Yeah.
So everyone's always doing it in a different way. I remember the first time I played Breath of the Wild, I found Eventide Island really quickly, and then on a second go, I was about 150 hours in, and I thought to myself, I don't think I've stumbled across it this time. It's just, I hope they've kind of like kept the map like that this time. That everyone
Yeah.
goes in completely different ways, and just sort of like secrets pop up that you said,
Mhm.
you just like tell your friends, and then you go out to look for it next time. So I hope it's as kind of like sandboxy as it has been before, because that was
Yeah.
such a
I
good
th-
part of it.
yeah, I definitely think. Yeah, I think I agree with both of you there. That I do think that it's impossible. One, it's impossible to know if enough has changed, but also I feel like the stuff we've seen has all been so different that it could be a different kind of new height in gaming. Maybe it doesn't hit the same heights as Breath of the Wild for the things that Breath of the Wild did, but maybe things that Tears of the Kingdom do are just as good in their own way. And
Yeah.
maybe we can't even really compare the two.
Well, we've had
in
other games
some way.
since, right? I feel like Elden Ring changed the game a little bit last year. The lack of like a quest log and just the exploration that you get, and finding people out in the open and just chatting to them and picking up a whole new storyline and story arc. I don't think we'll get that from Tears of the Kingdom. I'll be very, very happy if I don't talk to someone and they suddenly don't turn into a Yiga clan member.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because my God, it got tedious. So I'll be
Forgot about
very,
that.
very happy to have them gone. But the hideout was really funny with the bananas. I thought that was hilarious.
Yes,
Well,
that was
see,
great.
so I only just finished Breath of the Wild for the first time quite recently, like a year ago, and I never did the desert divine beast, because that stealth part in the Yiga hideout that you need to do before. I'm just not doing this. Like, I don't have the patience for it. So I went to Ganon with 3 divine beasts done. So I was like, no, I'm not doing
Wow,
that.
okay, that's fair.
I just love the animation when you put the banana down and they go, ooh, and they just like go over and get it.
So funny.
Good.
It's so funny.
So funny. So we have one other question regarding the trailer we saw today from it's Sierra. Sierra, thank you. I didn't want to get it wrong. They say, I understand the desire to keep things close to the chest, especially in this current era of gaming, but the very little we've seen and being like a month and a half out has not been heartening. From the 10 minutes we saw, it looks like a big $70 DLC, which is a trend I'm getting increasingly tired of. Some of the abilities are cool, but I'm not a big fan of Minecrafting together weird, sloppy-looking vehicles and weapons. As far as questions, my biggest is from that video is what will dungeons look like? How much of the old Hyrule is destroyed or blocked off, since we now also have the sky and potentially underground to explore? Is there no Sheikah Slate in this game? Lots to think about. I'm trying to approach it with an open mind, but so far there's not a lot exciting me about the prospect of just more Breath of the Wild. Now, there's a couple of things I disagree with about the points that have been made here, but those are the only things I've really started disagreeing about since we've had this conversation, the three of us just now. Like, big $70 DLC, I feel like there's probably, from what we've seen, I think a lot of this, if it does fundamentally change the way the game works, I don't know if I agree that it does look like that. It does look very
As well,
similar
we've
to
only
what
seen
visually.
such a tiny portion of the map, and if you think about how many different biomes there were of the whole map in Breath of the Wild,
Oh yeah,
there's not a single part of me that thinks, oh, the whole map is just going to look like this really familiar green, like moderate temperature. Like,
Well,
there were
we know
so
that
many
there's
different.
like the sky stuff, and we know it goes underground as well from the previous trailers. I can agree with her that if I'd just seen this trailer, right, and I didn't have any faith in Nintendo, and I didn't kind of trust them to look after the IP, that maybe it does feel like a bolt-on to Breath of the Wild, in that it's just some new abilities and that's all they showed off. But I think because of the other indicators that there are fundamental changes to the game that we've spoken about, and the fact that it's going to be a whole new story, and I think that's what is going to be the big draw for people is, it's more Breath of the Wild. People want that, but there is a whole new canon story here in the Zelda universe, and we get to mess around with some cool new abilities. I disagree with the Minecrafting together weird sloppy looking vehicles. I actually think Fuse and Ultra Hand are really, really cool abilities, and I'm looking forward to messing around with them. And like you say, Chloe, just seeing what's popping up on Twitter, that was such a huge part of Breath of the Wild back in 2017. It was just like, oh, let's hop on Twitter and see what everyone's getting up to. It's just like,
Well, even now, still things go like viral, don't they? Where someone's just found something else just ridiculous to do in the game. Like, it's one of those things that kind of keeps it evergreen for a bit, because it's just there's so much choice in how you approach things.
Yep, there's still people discovering. I mean, even last year, I can't remember what it was, but I remember someone discovering something, and people were like, "I did not know this was a possible in the game." And
there's that series of YouTube videos. It's like 100 more things you didn't know about Breath of the Wild, and I swear they must be on like thousands of items by now, and I'm always seeing new ones pop up.
Yeah, it's really. I guess that's the beauty of having a sandbox and having the restrictions be so little. And I wonder if from what we've seen, the fact that you can just Minecraft together vehicles, you can probably make vehicles that do all sorts of crazy stuff. Wheels on it and fans on it, so it flies and jumps. Or you never know. You never know until you see what happens.
There's like the three forms of transport: land, sea, and air that we've got. Like, I just think that's so cool. The fact that you can just
and
make
the fourth,
these things,
the
right?
fire. Yeah.
Do we know if this one's been in like development as long as Breath of the Wild?
Longer, I believe.
Yeah, it's been 6 years now, 5 years since that came out, right?
Yeah.
6 years. And Breath of the Wild, I'm pretty sure, was announced in. It was what? So if it came out in 2017, 2012 was when the Wii U was released, but they didn't even announce it then. It wasn't until like 2013 they announced Zelda.
It's either
maybe?
comparable or it's even longer.
Yeah.
And I think
and that makes me quite hopeful for it, because like I said, like there's so much of the world is done, so much of the engine's done. So if this has just been 6 years of
oh yeah, it feels like it's been delayed
I think it's going to
2
be
years.
amazing. Yeah.
And we just
I was almost expecting a delay today. Max was like, no,
I kind of was
I
as well. Like, it's like gameplay to soften the blow, and then we also get like a.
And then when they put the splash screen up, and I was when the date came up, I was like triple checking. I was like, is this the same date as it was?
I think it's that anxiety of Nintendo executives in white rooms because of the Metroid Prime announcement. Like, we're no longer making the game anymore. I was starting again. Announcement video, but it was a nice announcement. It's like, oh, we've gone gold. We've finished development on the game, which I can imagine they probably finished development on the game like 6 months ago, and they've been translating. Maybe the translation's finished.
So, not to want to put a pin too much in this conversation we're having, but there has been a little bit of evidence that there has been a delay that factors into something they spoke about at the very end of the trailer, or the trailer we watched today. So before we get to that, though, let's talk about some housekeeping. We'd like to thank the Patreon producers for March, as we always do. They are Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Earth Visitor, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Asobi, Snack Hugo, Tyler Dude, and Wakahula. Steve, is there anything else people should be looking out for?
Indeed, head over to our website, flipscreen.games. You can find everywhere we are on the web. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you're missing out on some really great footage, and you should go and watch it so you can kind of see what we're talking about as we do. And we're still growing our YouTube channel over there, and we'd really appreciate a sub. And come join our Discord, where all three of us are. You can come chat with us about the episode and talk about Zelda with other Nintendo nerds over there.
Wonderful. So the last bit of news that they announced in the Tears of the Kingdom gameplay trailer was that the leaked Switch OLED that we saw months ago at this point was officially announced alongside some new stuff we hadn't seen before, which was a Switch Pro controller and a Switch carrying case. The dates on this is the actual Switch comes out on April 28th or 28th of April before the. What are you laughing at, Steve?
I'm watching the trailer and it says effect added to this like animation.
Yeah, I like that
onto
as
the back of the Switch, and I was just like, what? Of course the effect's added. We don't think Link's face is going to show up on there. Oh my god.
So the Switch actually comes out April 28th of April. That's 2 weeks before the game comes out, and then the Pro Controller and the case both come out alongside the game.
Oh man, I want that Pro Controller. The Switch.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
There's no way I can justify buying a new Switch this late in the game. As much as I think,
I'm hoping we must be at nearing end of life for Switch shortly. Like
it's got to be, right?
I've been rooting for it,
and I think there's no way I can justify to myself spending 320 quid on a new Nintendo Switch when I'm hoping a new one is out next year. No matter how much I like it, and I actually don't know if I like the design of the Switch.
I don't
itself.
like it. No.
I hate it. Since the first one was announced, I think we've said it's ugly. I think we've spoke about. Me and Pete did an entire section of an episode where we went through all of the Switch OLED versions, the Switch special edition versions, and every single one was hideous.
What are you on about?
I'm not a fan of any of them,
gorgeous.
Really.
The Splatoon one is
I like the Animal
so
Crossing
nice. Yeah, the Animal Crossing one's great as well.
Maybe they're the only two good
And
ones,
I liked the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee one with the brown and yellow
Joy-Con
Joy-Con
controller.
Yeah, because when you put
for
the only reason of when you put the sliders on them, it made the like correct colors of the Pokemon, and they had like the really nice braided straps. It was a really cool thing that they did, but a lot of them are just tacky.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, I've not been a
Massively.
fan of any of them apart from the Animal Crossing one was quite sweet.
It was very nice,
And I
and I
think-
do like just that's such a good combination of colours for the Joy-Cons.
What is that one?
It's
Or
not
is it just
it's
the
the
Joy-Cons?
These are just
GameCube colours.
Joy-Cons.
It's the purple and the spice orange, right?
Oh yeah, so it is. Yeah, I realise I actually doxed you in the video there, Chloe. I showed your face in a reflection of my.
Don't worry,
So
you
I
look
don't-
like
I don't-
the resolution of the video today is
I was going to
horrendous.
say,
It's
I'm
coming
sure it's
on.
fine.
It's coming on through my internet, so you look like Steve from Minecraft at the moment.
I just turned my TV on
perfect.
accidentally.
The case and the Pro controller, they're a little more tasteful, but I hate that the case is always those crappy pouch cases that they always use that are just so soft and flimsy and offer zero protection to your Switch whatsoever. They fit like 2 games in there. It's not a great case at all, and they've been dishing these out for years at this point. And I've got no need for another Pro controller. I plan on playing the majority of Tears of the Kingdom in the same way that I played the majority of Breath of the Wild, which is handheld. Especially
really? I was
considering
sort of pretty 50-50.
I think some of the footage didn't look quite as visually appealing as Breath of the Wild. I think 5 years on, they've maybe been a little bit more ambitious than they were with Breath of the Wild, which was targeting last-gen hardware. It was targeting the Wii U. And I can imagine on a 4K screen, it's probably not going to look as good as I think a lot of people want it to.
That's possible.
And so I'm probably...
Breath of the Wild struggled a bit in some areas as well, even then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was
then.
like
So
the launch
if this one is even bigger and better, it's
Yeah.
I play most things in handheld anyway, so that's the way I'll be doing it.
Yeah, I think I'll probably just do what I do now, which is just a mix, but I do really like the OLED screen, so I think I will spend a lot of time just soaking it all in that way.
that makes
I
sense.
think the change that they're using that.
I'm still on
Sorry,
my
go on.
launch Switch, so like
Are you?
suffer through that screen, because every time I'm just like, I'm gonna buy a new one, and then I buy something else instead. Like I buy a Steam Deck, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait until the next one's released, and they'll do. I'm 5 years in. I'm like 6 Joy-Cons down. I've just replaced my Joy-Con sticks with the Gilly-Kit sticks, the Hall Effect sticks, ready. So there's no drifting ever going to happen again to those things. So I'm ready. I'm ready for Tears of the Kingdom.
The OLED Switch is what brought Chloe back. You had got rid of your Switch. You'd stopped.
I sold
and I think
my Switch, and it means I've lost my Animal Crossing island as well.
I lost
so
mine too. I think
that's gone
you
forever.
saw
Can you not call
my...
Nintendo support and get that back? Because like I'd be devastated.
No, you lose it. You have to
It's one
download
of
the
those
app.
things where I hate that game because we just ruined it for ourselves at the start. I honestly don't want to play it again. I think when I was like on the Discord black market making like millions off the turnips, like I absolutely ruined that game for me. Like I don't want to go back.
Yep. I remember when we were in Liverpool together and you took my Switch. I showed you the OLED Switch for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, and you were like, "Oh, I'm gonna get one."
I hadn't had one. That was when I didn't have a Switch.
Yeah, and then you immediately, I think within like a couple of weeks, you and your flatmate had both bought OLED Switches. I'm pretty sure. So that's it's just the power of that screen, Steve. You need to get one. Now I teased it earlier.
I played all of Hollow Knight in like handheld on the OLED, and that looked amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine that on that. I know Metroid looked good on it as well.
Dread looked good. Prime looked good. Honestly, so many games. I bought a game on Steam Deck the other day, played it for 4 minutes, and thought, "What am I doing?" Returned it and then bought it on Switch for like £2 more because it looked so much more better, like colourful.
I noticed such a difference on the Steam Deck, because I just don't like how
terrible
the screen looks on it.
Yep. Now I teased this earlier. The reason that we can sort of like assume that there has been a delay on Tears of the Kingdom is that Woody Woods, whatever his name is, from Beat 'em Ups on YouTube. Woody Woodpecker, yeah. No, Beat 'em Ups on YouTube. Wood, I think his name is. He has done an unboxing of the Tears of the Kingdom Switch somehow. He's got it. I don't even think he's a Nintendo ambassador anymore, but he has the system. He did an unboxing.
Probably won't be now if he's unboxing unreleased consoles. He's probably never going to be a Nintendo ambassador again.
But he's turned it on and he looked at the latest software update, and it was June of last year, which.
And it makes sense why the leak was so early as well. Then, I mean, why the leak's just been hanging around for ages.
People have had the system maybe, or people have sort of seen the system, but could we maybe assume that the system was made for a launch date for Tears of the Kingdom of last year, and they've gone right. No, we're not. We're not doing the game this year. We're delaying it. So they are pushing. Ended up pushing the system. So yeah, I do think the game was supposed to be ready not too long ago.
Wasn't there? What was the original window? Was it like December of last year? It was meant to come out.
Don't know. Let's have a look.
I think they said end of. I think that winter 2022 window was definitely like in some of the early announcements.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, so I'll put a link to the video of it's over on the Beat 'em Ups channel, as Max said, of the unboxing. But I've got a little bit of footage playing now, and it looks even more hideous in the video than I could have imagined. It's like cheap gold plastic, and I don't. Ugh, no. I was considering it, and I've seen this, and I'm like, no way. But yeah, that's so interesting.
If they'd just gone for like white Joy-Cons, maybe, but it's that horrible like metallic-y gold. Just doesn't look great.
Yeah, I mean, some of the Zelda stuff they've done before, like the gold Wiimote was great. The Joy-Cons for Skyward Sword Remastered were great. Even the Wind Waker HD Wii U it was black with the sort of the gold outline and the Triforce on it. Just classy, nice and classy. This I just think is ugly, and it's just, again, it's another sort of like vomit green and piss gold, golden shower gold, I should say, color scheme that just does nothing for me. So yeah, this one won't be for me. I'm going to enjoy my current OLED, and also the Pro Controller really doesn't look much different apart from the one white.
Oh well, it's better than the Smash Pro Controller with the
absolutely.
Sign.
But I mean,
I remember that one. What was that one like?
Terrible, Chloe. It's just a plus sign on it.
Yeah. Well, I think they were the Joy-Cons. I think the Smash. No, you are right. I think you are right.
I don't like the different color like handle panels. I just think
it's tacky.
It makes it look so cheap.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I've got this
the Monster Hunter one?
The Monster Hunter Sunbreak, but there was also a Monster Hunter
one.
Rise one that was this basically, but in gold, and it had a different monster on it.
Tasteful.
It's very similar to that. Very tasteful, just classic, very nice. And I still think that the Pro Controller is probably one of the most durable.
One of the battery lasts forever.
Battery life forever. Yeah.
Forever.
I got spoiled with. I just got used to the Pro Controller for so many years, and I thought when I got an Xbox recently, I thought there was something wrong with my controller because it was just lasting maybe. Sorry, my phone's ringing. But it's like lasting just a couple of hours, and then I realized that no, actually, just the Switch one is just that good.
I bought I had an Elite controller with an old play and charge kit in it, and it didn't fit into my new Xbox controller. I thought, okay, that's fine. It's not going to be that much of a difference. And then the Xbox controller, even with like the battery in it, was dying really quickly. Went online and saw that they do an Xbox Play and Charge kit, a new one with a USB-C cable for the new controllers that offers, touts a 40-hour battery life, and it's been great. It really does feel like the Pro Controller. It only costs about less than £20 for this thing, and it's giving me like 40 hours of battery life, which I think is is great. And I think that's definitely a worthy investment, because you do get spoiled by the Pro Controller, don't you? Really?
Big time. So it sounds like
none
of us are picking up any of the special edition stuff. But Chloe, I'm interested because I know Max has pre-ordered. You've pre-ordered the standard edition, right? Are you picking up the limited special edition version of the game, Chloe?
It comes with a book, Chloe. Before you answer,
I was going to say, is that the collector's edition?
Yes.
Because I think I actually would, but I've not seen it in stock anywhere. But I've not pre-ordered anything yet, so I'm going to wait and see what the I want to see what the pre-order. Yeah, I know I've missed out on the collector's one, but I want to kind of see what.
Just at a good price.
Oh, that you can still get them, but I've got like game credit that's been sat in my account for a year, so I might just go. But I want to see what the pre-order bonuses are like, because I think the game there's just like a coin, and I've only ever seen posted as well. Right, I remember for Animal Crossing, they had like 20 different retailers,
right?
Yeah, and it was like 20 different retailers had like 20 different pre-order bonuses. Like I remember I got this like Tom Nook key ring from one shop, and then my sister got it from a different shop and got an Isabel key ring. There was posters, like tote bags. So yeah, I'm gonna wait to see where it's just got like a fun pre-order bonus, I think.
Yeah, I can't justify the extra expense on that collector's edition as much as I would like to. It's like an extra £50, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, just for a book, really.
It's a lot of money for it. Whereas
it's a lot of tat. it's always tat. There's some tat I can justify, and there's some tat I can't justify, and this is unjustifiable tat for
I
me.
really liked some of the special editions that Nintendo's done. My favorite one was Link's Awakening with that Game Boy still case and like the really beautiful art book, and I think that was like £90. It was like £30 more than the base game, and I feel like for
What's
me,
the collector's edition retail for Tears of the Kingdom?
120 or 130, I think.
Oh yeah,
it's
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
like an
of
extra
money.
£50.
Yeah,
it's like a full game of extra money, you know.
yeah. I think
Or
as well, if you're like a
multiple games.
collector and like have things on display, but I just play the game and leave it. So I'm as nice as it is. I don't think if I can find one in stock, I'll consider it. But it's just, yeah, like you said, it's just 2 games worth just for some stuff. What's even in it apart from the art book? Actually, I've not even.
Some pins or something like that. I don't know, a coin.
Which is how we confirmed, really, or people confirmed that the special edition Switch that was leaked was real, because it had the same like pattern on the pins, as it on the console itself on the Joycons. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. I'm gonna buy the game, but yeah, nothing else grabbed me. I don't think we're gonna see any more though. I think that's it until launch now. Maybe we get one final launch trailer, but I don't think we're gonna get any glimpse of the story. I think they really want people to just experience it and kind of unbox it, and that be it.
Yep.
I'd like to know some more. Like I said, I'm gonna get it either way, so they actually don't need to sell me on anything. But I'd like to know a bit more, know what we're getting into.
Yeah, I think so too. Just so we have more to talk about, really. It's going to be tough with one of the biggest games of the year for Nintendo coming out and not being able to talk about very much of it other than just sort of, I don't know, baseless theories.
Oh, we'll be talking about it in at length, I'm sure, for months to come. Because everyone that listens to this is going to be picking it up and playing it as well, and can kind of play along. And I think this is going to be our water cooler where we can kind of just come and talk about the game and have those experiences where we've spoken about. It's like, oh, did you find this yet? Or did you see this yet? That kind of thing.
I think I said earlier about how we haven't sort of on this show specifically talked a lot about video games that we've been playing, that kind of thing. And I feel like that in May is going to end and we're going to spend a lot of time just talking about Breath of the Wild, touching on news a little bit, and that's it really. So
I hope you'll be back for that one, Chloe. Come talk about
yeah.
I'm up for it. If I like the game, if I hate the game, you'll not want me. But...
Yeah, that's fair. That's why I never show up on any episode about Pokemon anymore.
Yeah, give up. I think I did the same recently, so we both skipped it.
Did you guys play the recent one?
No, we did not,
No,
and we have no interest in ever discussing it. Let's go look at this episode of Nintendo Noise full of Nintendo Pokemon haters. Great. Well, Chloe, yeah, like Steve says, I hope we have you back on when the game when the game releases, and we can discuss all the fun things we've been making and the fun things we've been combining, I should say. However, I think that's probably going to bring us to the end of the show. I didn't realize we would really get that much that much conversation out of just the Zelda hour trailer. But here we go, a 10-minute trailer split into almost an hour of content. It is really great, yeah. So thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much, Chloe, for joining us. And thanks, Steve, as well, for coming on talking to me. I think there's some other things that, Steve, where can people find us? Where can people support us?
Find everything over at flipscreen.games if you want to support the show, like our Patreon producers for this month. And all of our Patreon supporters get your name read on the air, show up in the credits at the end. Then you can head to patreon.com/flipscreengames. And come join our Discord. That's the best place to send in questions or responses. That's where everyone did this week that we read them out on the show. So if you've got something, a burning Nintendo question that you want for us next week, because I doubt there will be any news, then please send it our way, because we will need something to talk about next week.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. But Chloe, was there anything you wanted to plug at all? I don't know if you are doing any content anywhere else these days.
Off the grid now.
Okay.
Goodreads.
Off the grid. Yeah, follow my Goodreads. That's what I'm posting.
Okay, so for the show, I don't know what direction anyone's in
You're
right
in the
now.
middle, and Chloe's on this side, that side, A side.
She's been Chloe, he's been Steve, I've been Max. Thank you very much and goodbye.